Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night, your mind racing through questions with no answers. The silence around you is deafening, yet inside there's a storm, a relentless churn of thoughts about life, purpose, and the crushing weight of existence. You stare at the ceiling, feeling both too much and not enough at the same time. This isn't just another sleepless night. This is the curse of depth. Why is it that the people who think the hardest, feel the most, and see beyond the surface are often the ones drowning in quiet misery? The ones who can't unsee the contradictions of the world, the fragility of human connections, the absurdity of societal norms? They walk through life like ghosts, present but detached, aching for meaning in a world that rewards shallow certainty. Consider the paradox. The more you understand, the heavier existence becomes. Ignorance is bliss, but awareness is a burden. The average person moves through life on autopilot, chasing distractions, clinging to routines, bathing in the warm glow of unconsciousness. But you see the strings. You notice the cracks in the facade. You feel the hollowness of small talk, the emptiness of achievements that mean nothing once the applause fades. What happens when you can't turn off the questions? When every moment is filtered through layers of analysis, when joy is dissected until it loses its color, when love is weighed against the inevitability of loss, you become a prisoner of your own mind. The deeper you go, the lonelier it gets, because no one else seems to care about the things that keep you awake at night. And so, the cruel irony reveals itself. To be deep is to be miserable. Not because depth itself is tragic, but because the world wasn't built for those who refuse to look away. Society thrives on simplicity, on predictable narratives, on the illusion of control. But you see through it all. And that vision comes at a price. Is this the fate of those who think too much? To suffer in silence? To crave connection but repel it with their intensity? To search for truth only to find it's a mirror reflecting back their own isolation? Or is there something else at play here, something darker, more insidious? The answer isn't simple. But the journey to uncover it begins here, in the shadows of your own mind, where the weight of depth presses down like a stone, and the only way out is through. You are not broken. You are not cursed. But you are caught in a trap, one designed by evolution, society, and the very structure of human consciousness. Why does depth so often lead to despair? The answer lies in the collision between how our minds evolved and the world we've created. 1. The evolutionary mismatch. Our brains were forged in the fires of survival, not existential contemplation. Early humans needed quick, instinctive reactions. Fear predators, seek food, form tribes. Deep thinking was a luxury, often a dangerous one. Overanalysis could mean hesitation, and hesitation could mean death. But now, we live in an age where survival is guaranteed for most, yet our minds still operate as if every thought must serve a primal function. The deep thinker is left with a brain wired for threat detection, now turned inward, dissecting meaning, questioning purpose, agonizing over abstractions. 2. The tyranny of awareness. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." To see the world clearly is to recognize its illusions, the arbitrary nature of status, the fleeting satisfaction of pleasure, the inevitability of suffering. Friedrich Nietzsche called this the burden of the free spirit. Once you see through society's games, money, fame, power, you can't unsee it. But rejecting these illusions doesn't free you, it isolates you. While others chase promotions and applause, you stand on the outside, wondering if you're the fool for not playing, or if they are for not questioning. 3. The loneliness of perception. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, observed that an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. The modern world is, in many ways, an abnormal situation, a hyper-connected yet emotionally starved existence. The deeper you go, the fewer people can follow. Most conversations stay at the surface because depth requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is dangerous in a world that rewards masks. So you either suffocate in silence or learn to wear a disguise, pretending to care about things that feel meaningless. 4. The trap of overthinking. Arthur Schopenhauer argued that the more a man has in himself, the less he will want from others. But this is only half true. The more you have in yourself, the more you need others who understand, and the harder they are to find. Neurologically, rumination, the endless cycling of thoughts, activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Your mind, in its quest for truth, becomes a torturer. You dissect every emotion, every interaction, until joy feels naive and love feels like a risk. 5. The illusion of control. Jean-Paul Sartre claimed that man is condemned to be free. Freedom, in this sense, is not liberation. It's the terrifying realization that there is no script, no destiny, only choices. And with that awareness comes the weight of responsibility. Most people avoid this burden by outsourcing their decisions to religion, to politics, to social norms. But the deep thinker? They stare into the void and realize they must author their own meaning. And that is exhausting. The unseen consequences. This isn't just about sadness, it's about a quiet erosion of the soul. The deeper you go, the more you risk. Paralysis by analysis. The inability to act because every choice feels insignificant or flawed. Emotional detachment. Protecting yourself from pain by numbing all feeling, good and bad. Cynicism as armor. Dismissing hope before it can disappoint you. Self-sabotage. Ruining relationships or opportunities because you don't trust happiness. But here's the twist. This misery is not the end. It's the price of entry. Because beyond this pain lies something far more powerful, if you're willing to push further. You don't realize it's happening, not at first. Like slow-acting poison, the consequences of a deep mind seep into every corner of your existence, warping your perceptions, relationships, and even your ability to experience joy. 1. The death of simple pleasures. For most people, happiness is straightforward. Good food, laughter with friends, a beautiful sunset. But you can't just enjoy anymore. Every experience gets filtered through layers of analysis. This meal is delicious, but think of the exploited labor that brought it here. This friendship feels good, but is it just mutual loneliness disguised as connection? This sunset is breathtaking, but it's just light refracting through pollution. What was once effortless now requires conscious effort. And when you force yourself to just be happy, the guilt creeps in. Why can't I be normal? 2. The isolation of unshared truths. You've had moments of clarity, epiphanies about human nature, society, the universe, that felt like discovering fire. But when you try to share them, blank stares, polite nods. That's deep, man. So you learn to stay silent. You smile at small talk while screaming inside. You nod along to conversations that feel like cardboard, hollow, flavorless. Over time, you start to wonder, is something wrong with me or with everyone else? The answer is neither. You're just speaking different languages. 3. The curse of foresight. While others stumble through life reacting to events, you see the patterns. A new relationship? You already know how it will fail. A promising opportunity? You've mapped its hidden pitfalls. Societal trends? You can trace their inevitable collapse. This isn't wisdom, it's a prison. When you can predict disappointment, you either avoid risks and stagnate, or take them anyway and feel like a martyr to truth. 4. The Stockholm Syndrome of the intellectual mind. Here's the cruelest twist. You've started to romanticize your own suffering. You take pride in being the misunderstood thinker. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor. You secretly believe misery is the price of intelligence. But it's not. It's just a habit, one you can break. 5. The silent war inside you. Every day, two versions of yourself battle. The human, who just wants to laugh, love, and feel alive. The analyst, who dissects every emotion until it's sterile. The human longs to dance. The analyst asks, but what's the point of dancing? The human falls in love. The analyst whispers, this will end in pain. You're not depressed. You're divided. The turning point. This isn't sustainable. But there's a way out, one that doesn't require abandoning depth. In fact, the solution lies in going even deeper. The answer was never to retreat into ignorance. That would be a betrayal of your nature. The solution is far more radical, to weaponize your depth instead of being victimized by it. 1. Stop romanticizing suffering. Nietzsche famously said, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. But somewhere along the way you confused meaning with identity. Your pain is not your passport to intellectual superiority. Your loneliness is not proof of your enlightenment. These are simply challenges to overcome, not medals to wear. The shift. Catch yourself when you think, people just don't understand me, and replace it with, how can I translate my truth into something that connects? When you feel superior for seeing through illusions, ask, is this insight helping me live better or just making me smug? 2. Force yourself into the physical world. Your mind is a labyrinth. The only way out is through your body. Run until your lungs burn. Scream into a pillow. Dance like no one's watching, they aren't. Schopenhauer was right about one thing. The body is the will made visible. Your thoughts have trapped you in a hall of mirrors. Physical action shatters the glass. 3. Create something ugly. Perfectionism is the armor of the deep thinker. You don't write because your words might fall short. You don't paint because your art won't match your vision. So you stagnate in silent superiority. Break the cycle. Write a terrible poem on purpose. Draw something childish and laugh at it. Play an instrument badly and enjoy the noise. The goal isn't to make masterpieces. It's to remind yourself that expression matters more than profundity. Find the others. They exist. The people who can handle depth without collapsing into pretension or despair. You won't find them in echo chambers of misery. Where to look? Philosophy meetups, but leave if it's just a circle of sighs. Volunteer organizations. Action reveals character faster than talk. Anywhere people are doing instead of just theorizing. 5. Practice strategic shallowness. You don't have to analyze every film you watch. You don't need to deconstruct every joke. Sometimes a burger is just a burger. Try this today. Have one conversation where you only talk about trivial things. Notice how it feels. Watch a stupid movie and let it be stupid. This isn't dumbing yourself down, it's giving your mind recess. The truth no one tells you. Depth doesn't lead to misery. Unmanaged depth does. The difference. Unmanaged depth is a maze with no exit. Harnessed depth is a lighthouse. It guides you through storms but doesn't drown you in the process. You weren't wrong to see the world clearly. You just forgot to build a life worth seeing clearly for. The misery you've been carrying wasn't the price of depth. It was the price of untransformed depth. 1. The alchemy of perspective. What if your curse is actually a rare form of sight? That relentless analysis? It's pattern recognition sharper than most possess. The emotional turbulence? It's a wider spectrum of feeling, not a defect. The alienation. It's the necessary distance of the observer who will one day create something new. The ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold. Your task is similar, to take the weight of your perception and transmute it into vision. 2. The antidote to existential dread. Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust by discovering that, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Your depth forces you to confront what others ignore. Mortality, meaning, the temporary nature of all things. But here's the secret, these aren't threats, they're liberators. Knowing life is short isn't depressing, it's the only reason to fully live. Seeing society's illusions isn't isolating, it's your ticket to authentic freedom. 3. The choice you didn't know you had. For years you believed, if I stop thinking deeply, I'll betray my nature. If I keep thinking this way, I'll drown in despair. But there's a third option, think just as deeply, but direct it outward instead of inward. Study the way light moves through leaves with the same intensity you once studied your own pain. Channel your analytical mind into solving concrete problems instead of hypothetical ones. Use your emotional range to create art that makes others feel understood. For the ultimate paradox. The people who change the world aren't those who float above it in detached wisdom. They're those who plunge into its messiness armed with insight. Nietzsche went mad, but first he taught us to dance in the face of the abyss. Van Gogh cut off his ear, but first he painted starry nights that still take our breath away. Kierkegaard wrestled with despair but gave us tools to fight it. Your darkness isn't something to escape, it's the fertile soil where your particular light can grow. 5. The invitation. This isn't about finding happiness. It's about something rarer and more potent. A life that justifies its own suffering. When you look back from your deathbed, the question won't be, did I think enough? Did I suffer nobly? The only question that will matter, did I turn my pain into something that outlived me? The world needs its deep thinkers, not as martyrs to truth, but as sculptors of reality. The choice to create rather than agonize is yours today.